Hi, and welcome to this Now Maths video on polynomial division. In this video we'll look at 4 different questions using long division to divide a cubic expression by a linear expression. For our first example, we're going to divide the cubic on screen by 2x plus 3. Firstly, we need to set up the long division. So the dividend, which is the cubic, goes inside the bus stop, and the divisor, which is 2x plus 3, goes on the outside. To make this as easy as possible, we'll only focus on dividing one term by another at any one time. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to divide 2x cubed by 2x. This gives us x squared, since x squared multiplied by 2x is 2x cubed, and we write this above the bus stop. Now there will be a remainder since we're actually dividing by 2x plus 3. So to find the remainder, we're going to multiply the x squared we just found by 2x plus 3. And when we multiply x squared by 2x, we get 2x cubed. And when we multiply x squared by 3, we get 3x squared. Now we subtract this from the cubic above to work out what the remainder is. So 2x cubed subtract 2x cubed is 0, and 9x squared subtract 3x squared is 6x squared, which is the remainder. We will then bring down the next term from the cubic, which is 13x. Now for our next division, we divide 6x squared by 2x, which is 3x, since 2x multiplied by 3x is 6x squared, and we write this above the bus stop. Now there will be a remainder again, since we're actually dividing by 2x plus 3. So to work out the remainder, we multiply the 3x that we just found by 2x plus 3. And 3x multiplied by 2x is 6x squared, and 3x multiplied by 3 is 9x. We then subtract to work out the remainder. So 6x squared subtract 6x squared is 0, and 13x subtract 9x is 4x. And again we bring down the next term from the cubic, which this time is 6. For our final division, we now divide 4x by 2x, which is 2, since 2x multiplied by 2 is 4x, and to work out the remainder, we multiply the 2 we just found by 2x plus 3. And 2 multiplied by 2x is 4x, and 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. We now subtract to find the remainder, so 4x subtract 4x is 0, and 6 subtract 6 is also 0. And since there are no terms left in the cubic, this is our division completed. Since the remainder right at the end of the division is 0, this tells us that 2x plus 3 is a factor of the cubic that we started with. And our final answer is at the top of our working, which is x squared plus 3x plus 2. This is also known as the quotient of the division. Now for our second example, we're going to divide the cubic on screen by 5x subtract 2. The method for this will be exactly the same as the previous question, except this time we have both negative and positive numbers to consider. So we're going to start by dividing 15x cubed by 5x, which is 3x squared, since 5x multiplied by 3x squared is 15x cubed. Now since we're actually dividing by 5x subtract 2, we will have a remainder. So to work out the remainder, we're going to multiply the 3x squared that we just worked out by 5x subtract 2. And 3x squared multiplied by 5x is 15x cubed, and 3x squared multiplied by negative 2 is negative 6x squared. Now to work out the remainder, we need to subtract this from the line above. So 15x cubed subtract 15x cubed is 0, and negative 11x squared subtract negative 6x squared is the same as negative 11x squared add 6x squared, which gives us negative 5x squared. And we bring down the next term from the cubic, which is the negative 8x. Now for our next division, we need to divide negative 5x squared by 5x, which is negative x, which we write above the bus stop. And this is because 5x multiplied by negative x gives us negative 5x squared. To work out the remainder, we now need to multiply this negative x by 5x subtract 2. So negative x multiplied by 5x is negative 5x squared, and negative x multiplied by negative 2 is positive 2x. We now subtract to work out the remainder, and negative 5x squared subtract negative 5x squared is 0, and negative 8x subtract 2 is negative 10x. And we bring down the final term from our cubic, which is 4. Now for our final division, we need to divide negative 10x by 5x. This will give us negative 2, which we write above the bus stop, and that's because 5x multiplied by negative 2 is negative 10x. And to work out our remainder, we need to multiply that negative 2 by the 5x subtract 2. Negative 2 multiplied by 5x is negative 10x, and negative 2 multiplied by negative 2 gives us positive 4. Now to work out the remainder, we subtract. Negative 10x subtract negative 10x is 0, and 4 subtract 4 is also 0. So we have completed our division because we have no terms left. Similar to the previous question, since there's no remainder at the end, this means that 5x subtract 2 is a factor of the cubic that we started with. And our final answer is 3x squared subtract x subtract 2, which again is known as the quotient. In this next question, we're asked to find the remainder when we divide the cubic by 2x subtract 1. Our method will be exactly the same, except we're expecting there to be a remainder right at the very end this time. So we start by dividing 10x cubed by 2x, which is 5x squared, and we write this above the bus stop. We now multiply 5x squared by 2x subtract 1, and 5x squared multiplied by 2x is 10x cubed, and 5x squared multiplied by negative 1 is negative 5x squared. Then we subtract, and we can see that the 10x cubed term will cancel, and then we have 41x squared subtract negative 5x squared, which gives us 46x squared. And we bring down the next term from the cubic, which is the x. Now for our next division, we divide 46x squared by 2x. This gives us 23x, which we write above the bus stop, and then we multiply 23x by 2x subtract 1. 23x multiplied by 2x is 46x squared, and 23x multiplied by negative 1 is negative 23x. Now we subtract, and again we can see that the 46x squared term will cancel, and then x subtract negative 23x gives us positive 24x. We then bring down the final term, which is negative 5. For our final division, we divide 24x by 2x, which is 12. This goes above the bus stop. And then we multiply 12 by 2x subtract 1. 12 multiplied by 2x is 24x. And 12 multiplied by negative 1 is negative 12. Now we subtract, we can see that the 24x term will cancel, and we have negative 5 subtract negative 12, which is the same as negative 5 add 12, which gives us positive 7 as the remainder. Since there are no terms left in the cubic, we've completed the division, and this time our quotient is 5x squared add 23x add 12, and our remainder is 7. And since the question asks for the remainder, our answer is that the remainder is 7. For our final question, we're asked to write a cubic in a factorised form, where one of the factors is 2x add 5. This means that 2x add 5 can be multiplied by a quadratic of the form ax squared plus bx plus c to give the cubic as an answer. To work out what the quadratic is, we could divide the cubic by 2x add 5, and the quotient that we end up with will be the answer. This is not the only way of answering this question, but we'll approach this in the same way as we have the previous questions. So we're going to divide the cubic by 2x add 5. And to do this, we start by dividing 6x cubed by 2x, which is 3x squared. We then multiply the 3x squared by 2x add 5. So 3x squared multiplied by 2x is 6x cubed, and 3x squared multiplied by 5 is 15x squared. We then subtract to work out the remainder, and we can see the 6x cubed term will cancel, and then negative 5x squared subtract 15x squared gives us negative 20x squared. We then bring down the next term from the cubic, which is negative 44x. Our next division is negative 20x squared divided by 2x, which is negative 10x. We then multiply the negative 10x by 2x add 5. So negative 10x multiplied by 2x is negative 20x squared, and negative 10x multiplied by 5 is negative 50x. We then subtract to work out the remainder. So we can see the negative 20x squared term will cancel, and then negative 44x subtract negative 50x gives us positive 6x. And we bring down our final term from the cubic, which is 15. For our final division, we divide 6x by 2x, which gives us 3, and then we multiply 3 by 2x add 5, and 3 multiplied by 2x is 6x, and 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. We then subtract to work out the final remainder, and we can see that 6x subtract 6x is 0, 15 subtract 15 is 0, so our final remainder is 0. This tells us that if we multiply 2x plus 5 by 3x squared subtract 10x add 3, we get the cubic in the question. So 3x squared subtract 10x add 3 is the quadratic we're looking for, and we can write the cubic as 2x plus 5 multiplied by 3x squared subtract 10x add 3. Thank you so much for watching this Now Maths video on polynomial division. Please like this video if you found it helpful and subscribe for more help with your maths. See you next time.